What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for checking back on Beyond the 90. It's great to have you back. And Leicester have just drawn at home, thankfully, to Manchester United. We've just scored a late minute winner, I think 83rd minute with Vardy. And we've got Dan, Glenn and Alex. So we're all North Americaned out today. It's looking fantastic. You guys had to wake up early for this match, I'm guessing. So we'll just get on with it. Dan, what were your initial thoughts of the match? Because to be fair, that was quite an entertaining one, and probably the coffee wasn't needed.
Yeah, it was quite the way to start Boxing Day, actually. All in all, I think the draw was probably a fair result, but I mean, there was a couple of major scares for Leicester. We could have gone behind very early, but I mean, we matched up well. We had good shape, and Didi and Tielemans were really composed in the middle of the park despite the high press. So I mean, I thought, on balance of things, it was a pretty fair result getting a draw.
Yeah, I think so too. I think one of the things as well is that we saw the Tottenham game and how they set up, and it seemed to be exactly the same formation, Glenn. And it was, I think, a case of Brendan Rodgers has tinkered with things from time to time, but if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I think the rest for a few days that we had leading up to this helped, which enabled him to be able to play the same formation again. I think it's the first time they've been unchanged since the first and second game of the season, which definitely helped us. I think with the Tottenham game with that formation, or not so much with the formation, just before the game, I was quite pessimistic about that, and I was very worried about it. And of course, with that lineup and how we played, it all turned out great, and I thought, well, perhaps I should be pessimistic a bit more often. But with this one, I wasn't so much pessimistic, but I was worried about the game. It was one of those ones, I think, over the last few years since the 5-3 win, we haven't done that well against them, and I was a bit worried. And but I think, like Daniel said, that it was probably the right result with the 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. Just so coming on to the match, even then with the first minute of the game, Rashford gets an open header in the penalty box. And I'm just thinking, oh no, here we go again, Alex. This is typical Leicester City, going to concede in the first 10 minutes. But thankfully it didn't go in. And thankfully there was a lot of pressing and good positions that were done in that end of the pitch.
Yeah, no, I was quite happy. Kind of like Glenn, I was nervous, to say the least, for this game. We haven't really always matched up well against Man United. So the way that it came out of the gate and they were able to, really keep up with them and just maintain possession for most of the game, I was quite happy with how they played.
Yeah, me too. I think one player as well from the beginning that was quite on it and was quite good was Tielemans. I think one of the players that is so key to our play, and if he has a bad game, it kind of shows. Like you look at the game against Liverpool where he was playing international football, then he came back into the team and it just didn't look like it was clicking. And again, today and the performance against Tottenham, Dan, I think he looked pretty one of our best players today.
Yeah, I agree. He was doing the unseen parts of the game, the tougher to spot parts of the game. He was really grinding it out in there, I thought. Made a challenge in the box to save a potential goal. I think it was late in the first half, early in the second, where we turned the ball over and United were breaking. But yeah, he looked everything you want from a guy playing in that position, and sharing that part of the park with Ndidi.
Yeah, I think both of them in the middle were probably getting into Ndidi as well at the beginning because, again, they were both brilliant. I wanted to go back to, obviously, the Rashford goal. There was 2 goals in the first half, and obviously the Rashford goal, I don't think there was too much we could do about it, but I just want to pass it over to you, Glenn, with that Barnes, because if he keeps playing like this and getting goals like this, I mean, he's going to definitely get called up for the England squad because that goal was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, with that goal, the goal itself was absolutely phenomenal, but even before that, I think something that pleased me even more was the fact that Maguire slipped for it to end up being the goal. So you had the Maguire slip, and Ndidi doing his normal thing, blocking the ball then from Fernandes, I think it was. Madders got the ball, who was pretty quiet in this game, I think, but then put it through to Barnes. And I mean, as soon as he got it, I thought, yeah, he's definitely shaping up for a shot here. And wow, what a shot. Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's one of those shots that if it comes off a Bruno Fernandes or another player that people are going to be harping on about it, because it's come off a Leicester player, it's less likely to be talked about. As well as him, I think he had a pretty good game. We'll get on to the second half where I think he really stepped up his game as well. But him and Castagna on that left, Alex, I think it wasn't quite perfect working in the first half, but they were getting each other way a bit. But you can see, they're building a relationship on that left side where one of them's overlapping and one of them's cutting in, and it's looking really good. It'll be really good to see them working together in the future.
Yeah, and I've been pretty happy with it, especially with Castagna being out for about eight weeks now. Like they still have to develop that chemistry, and they have to develop it back up again from what they already had. So where they're at right now, it's not bad at all. And I think moving forward, I think you're going to see that chemistry really take off, and I think both left and right sides will be absolutely lethal moving forward.
Yeah, and bearing in mind, we've still got Ricardo to come back. We've still got other players to come back and help moving forward. But just over to you, Dan, in regards to our home form has been all over the place and pretty shocking at times. Again, you look at the Fulham game, you look at the West Ham game. So the fact that we've gone to, and as well, you being at the ground as well, with the performance against Man United, a 2-2 draw is pretty awesome. But I think this is moving in the right direction. Getting this result, especially as Glenn was saying, the fact that you've got to go back to the 5-3 win that we had in order to remember the last time we won against Man United.
Yeah, and I think even the last time we drew at home to United was maybe with the game Vardy broke the 11-11 streak. I could be wrong about that, but that's just my memory. But yeah, it's given how we've looked at home at times this year, it was a really encouraging performance, and I think we're trending the right way. Some of the build-up play that we showed today, like we were commanding the ball well and moving it one touch and quickly up the field to break the lines when we could. I think those are all things that we can build on to kind of improve our home form overall. And I know there's been a lot of James Justin love on this show, but man, was he good today.
Yeah,
I mean, really spectacular in defense and tons of energy going forward. I love to see it. And like Rob Tanner said, I mean, maybe he's potentially undroppable. I mean, but just his contribution to the performance today was something worth noting. I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, totally. His performance as well as Albright on that right-hand side. Again, we were talking about Barnes and Castagna on one side. We talk about Albright and Justin on the other side. And again, there's a bit of a split in the show for us that do it, where I personally think that at this rate, I'm agree with you that Ricardo, with the long-term injury, doesn't get back in the team with how well he's playing and considering he plays every single minute. But just on that, obviously, we've got Justin and Albright, and we played really well against Tottenham, Glenn, and again today I think both of them just worked their socks off, and they just both seem to kind of understand their positioning really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's mad to think that we're sitting here saying that Ricardo isn't going to get back into the team. I mean, we all know what a phenomenal player he is, but yet Justin is just playing his socks off. And like you say, I mean, with him on the as the right back, and then with Brighton playing up further forward, I think that works really well. I struggle a little. I love Albrighton, but I struggle a little bit when he's playing more in that defensive role, and he's a lot better in that forward role. That Man United seems closing down, certainly in the first half. They seemed closing down really well, and he wasn't able to get that quick ball out across into the box. But then you have then of course Justin either doing an overlap or coming slightly inside him and maybe trying to play a 1-2. And like you say, that chemistry between them is working really well. So yeah, Ricardo's going to have to work hard to get into that side, I'll tell you.
He really is. Especially, we all want to see him back in the team. We all want to see him get fit because, again, he's one of our star players in the squad. But it's crazy to think at the beginning of the season we were going to say that Ricardo's not going to come straight back into the team because, again, he was amazing. Again, Albrighton, I think, did fantastically defensively at times. His crossing did let us down more than usual, which I don't want to slate him too much, but I think it's something that potentially needs to work on, partly because he just ran himself into the ground as well. Another player I want to mention, and we were just mentioning earlier with Harvey Barnes, Alex, is that I think he looked absolutely fantastic, especially in the second half where Castagna kind of dropped off, let him have some more room. And I mean, he's just looking absolutely sensational at the moment.
He really has. And it really seems like he's flipped that next switch where he's on that next level of play. And, everything that he's doing is high quality. Especially on Twitter, you see you've seen the high criticism of Barnes. He never hits the net. you can never score, but like he's been on the mark of late. Like he's been playing spectacular, and I think what you said was perfect. When does he get the call up from England? Because at this rate, he's been one of the best players in my opinion.
Yeah, he really has. And another player that, again, had an absolutely colossal game, but still had a really decent game today, Dan, was Ndidi. I mean, he just has a way of getting himself in positions and distributing the ball that was just missed beforehand. And again, we don't want to say that Mendy and Chowdhury aren't up to it, but I think Ndidi is just looking world class at the moment.
Yeah, it's tough to measure up with the kind of ground he covers. I mean, Mendy did a fantastic job when he was in, but he doesn't pass as crisply or take the he takes the safer route with his passes a bit more often. And indeed, he strides across that pitch and can cover so much ground, and he's a big aerial threat. So some of those things I just don't think you can discount. And today, it was maybe not as impressive as his performance at Tottenham, but he's always gonna get you a turnover when you're needing one. Like he's never gonna let the team have a spare minute on the ball. He's always in somebody's pocket. Now the Cavani assist kind of gives the lie to that because he was very clever. I mean, he dropped in, found a pocket of space, and Tielemans and Ndidi were just caught off guard, didn't expect it. So, but that was really the only negative in the game today from the two in the midfield, especially Ndidi was very strong.
Yeah, and you got to remember that they brought on. It's just in context. We didn't bring on a single substitute, which I thought was weird. And again, it was still working, or we brought in Perez later on in the game. And they brought on Pogba and Cavani. Now these players are at the top of their game for their countries as well. So you've got to kind of consider that as well. And both of them, and well, I don't know if Pogba did anything for the goals, but definitely Cavani, as you were saying, set up the assist as well. But it just shows you that we are pushing in the right direction, and these teams are super hard to beat. And again, since we haven't done it, we finally beat them. I want to come back to Schmeichel as well, because I think we've been saying on the show for a while, every single game, there is a time where he just produces a world-class save, and it goes way under the radar by the rest of the team. But again, I think it was about the 60th minute, 61st minute, when he was one-on-one with Rashford, and what a save that was, Glenn.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, again, Schmeichel was another one on Twitter. He gets a bit of bad press with his distribution, and but when you can have world-class saves like that, that's giving you, not only is it the fact of saving that goal, but it gives that impetus back to Leicester as a team. It sort of like gets the boys back up, and usually he's the one screaming at the defence, then like geeing them up again. And I mean, yeah, that save was phenomenal, and then backed up with an Albrighton saving tackle straight after as well, which was great. Yeah, I thought we defended as a unit really well today. But yeah, Schmeichel world class again.
Yeah, he really was. And again, you should mention there was Albrighton, another person as well that I've got down is Fofana, because he didn't. Again, his positional awareness was absolutely brilliant. There was, I think, a one-on-one chance. I think it was Martial or Rashford, and it was a one-on-one. And if he gets past him, then it's a through on with Schmeichel. And bearing in mind, this guy's just turned 20 years old, Alex, and we've sung his praise in the past, and I don't think he'll get the credits he deserves for this match, but he didn't do. Him and Evans just controlled that game a lot, because Man United really came on us with the pressure, as we did the other end.
Yeah, and especially with Fofana, everyone, like myself included, I forget that he's 20 years old. I think you look at him and you can easily say, oh, this kid's 25 or 26. He's played in the league for many years. He plays like he's been in the league for years at this point. And, maybe not every game is like that top performance, but he's like that silent performer where he does everything right when he needs to. And I think that's exactly what you want in, a 20-year-old who's just going to get better and better as he progresses through the season and through the seasons that he's here at the club. So and him and Evans have just been an absolute unit. They've controlled play not only in this game but in the game against Spurs. They've just been incredible of late.
And bearing in mind that they were Fofana was brought in to play as a back three, and now he's playing as a back two with Justin and Castagna both as absolute flying fullbacks. And with you, this team that they set up today was fantastic. As in, like, it was still a brilliant team that would win a lot of trophies, but the fact they controlled that is brilliant. I want to bring it forward though to the attack as well, Dan, in terms of Barnes, Vardy and Maddison, especially in the second half. Them three were picking up all these different places and playing in these like different pockets of space, which, I mean, if it was another day, we could have scored more goals, but I think it was a fair result of 2-2. But the fact that they can kind of interchange, play different places, they know kind of where each other are. It was just that little bit of fine passing or great defending by the back three that just stopped us getting the extra few goals.
Yeah, you're right. And Vardy, which surprised me, popped up on the left quite a few times in the middle of the second half. But yeah, some of the play going forward between those three in the second half was really spectacular. Barnes, I believe, got in on the left-hand side and played a ball across the box with the outside of his right foot that was so delicious. It deserved to have somebody on the end of it, and it would have just made all of that beautiful build-up play even more so. So yeah, they were moving fluidly together and anticipating the passes, like into space where there wasn't a pass on yet. They just saw that pass. And, Castagna was getting in there a little bit too. I think that left side is really encouraging. Barnes especially, he's got such power going forward and pace. When he runs at somebody, it's really, it gets you off your seat in a different way maybe than Mahrez did with the trickery, but he's just so powerful, and there's a lot of exciting things to come there.
Yeah, I think so. And the directness that he plays with is super important. I think Castagna, again, he's just come back from a 2-month injury, but I think with them playing it game in, game out, they will work together quite well and end up really complementing each other because they are similar players. They've just got to kind of play more together. And I think it was one of the things as well I want to bring it back to was obviously the Fernandes goal in the 79th minute. There was an argument that potentially could be sent off in that match as well. But most importantly, it was one of those games where if that was another way around, it was like, oh, here we go again. It could have been, here we go again, Glenn, losing 2-1 last minute. And all the punditry is going to be, oh, Man United are the best thing in the world. But Perez comes on, brilliant tactical substitution, and then Vardy gets that last minute goal just to silence it and give us that point that we deserve.
Yeah, I think I was worried even when the fact of Cavani was coming on. I think I said something in the Twitter text about the fact of the strength of the Man United bench, and then and I put like, oh, Cavani on, great, and then as we already discussed about the goal with him dropping off and taking the ball early and slotting it through. Yeah, you're Fernandes. I was quite surprised that Mike Dean, who's known to be producing a card or two, I think he got away with it a little bit, and maybe he should have got the yellow for the little niggle and the push on Albrighton. And then there was also another one as well. May have been Tielemans, can't remember now, but there was another one that maybe another ref, another day, it could have been a bit different. But then, yeah, coming up with our equalising goal with Perez was what a ball. I mean, like I said, we've had that many balls in that game that were either just slightly overhit, they tended to be, and then that one where he just whipped it hard and low, and it was just so inviting for Vardy. And I'm not 100% sure whether he'll actually get the goal. I don't know whether it might have been going wide before it took the deflection, but even so, I don't care. I'll take it, and I know he'll take it, whether it's an OG or not. So yeah, a fantastic finish, that's for sure.
It really was. And I think today, so we look at the possession, so it's 55% possession to us, 45% possession to Man United, 10 shots they had 9, 3 on target, 4 for them, 5 corners, we have 0, and then they had 17 fouls, we had 10. So it was quite an even game overall. It was then fine margins, but I think in games gone by, and you look at the game, like, for example, at the end of last season, Alex, that's a game we could have lost. And that just shows you how important momentum is and how well this team is gelling together as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed is that this team they're different in how they're approaching games that they're trailing. I would even say last season, you know, they go down by 1 in the last 10 minutes and they'd mail it in. That'd be the end of the game. You know, there was no hope for them getting back. This season, they're different. They're hungry. They want to tie up. They want to equalize. And that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed with this team. Because, you know, even with 10 minutes left in the game, you know, we're trailing down by 1, you know, I'm still sitting there going, no, I think they could do this. I think they could tie it up here, you know, and that's the key difference I've noticed from the end of last year to where we're at now is there's that hunger and there's that drive to continue on even if we're down.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just what are your thoughts on that, Dan?
I think he's making a good point there. They really seem to be trusting the process or trusting the system. Like Rodgers, like admittedly through parts of last year, this was a major criticism of him, but maybe they're executing it better and being able to turn a result like this around and come from behind twice, I think is a good testament to that. I mean, obviously we can point to times in the recent past where that's not been the case, but yeah, I think we're just really probably executing Rodgers' game plan a little better and really sticking to it. You know, I think long term, that's probably what you want to see from your team. You don't want to see reactionary, knee-jerky changes.
Yeah, and that's why he only made substitutions when they were necessary, because at the end of the day, up till that goal, it was working fine and it could have gone in another direction. However, the substitutions work great as well. And I think we are pressing in a right direction. The commentary that I was listening to, I think it was, I don't know whether it was like over there in North America, but it was insanely biased towards the US to Man United. I was just getting fed up at points because they were talking about how they were going third and they were third, and like, well, we're playing the second team and it's not that bad. But I think this is just we have to get used to, isn't it, Glenn?
Yeah, and it was I don't know what the other guys were watching it on, but here I was watching it on DAZN, and it was the same here. Certainly in the first half, they were talking about the fact of how Leicester were playing it around, but with no real end product and things like this, and it was like, wow, you know, these guys are obviously watching a different game to what I was. I mean, in the second half, they give us a little bit more credit. And that as well, and yet I think they all agreed that it was probably the right result, but they still were twisting towards the fact that Man United would look at it as a chance lost from their side of things, rather than it being a pretty good result for us. I think, like Alex said as well, about the fact of coming from behind, whereas previously, you know, we'd be a lot more, you know, 2-1 down with only a few minutes to go. Oh, well, that's it, sort of thing. I know I listened to I'd listened to an interview with Rodgers just a few days ago, and he was saying about the fact that it's not the fact of the system that's played, that it's actually a philosophy of the game, and that it doesn't matter what system that you play, as long as that philosophy is in place, then you can play pretty much any system. A lot of people had said to me, certainly last year, that they thought that Rodgers was a bit of a one-trick pony and that he didn't have a plan B. And I think that hopefully that most people now would see that that's not the case. You know, certainly we can not only play a different system at the start of games, but also within the game we can change the systems as well, dependent on the way things are going. And I agree. I think Dan said about the fact of how that may be more as well for the fact that the players are getting to know more of what Rodgers' philosophy is all about and how to play the systems and that. And then we can see those little pockets of players working off each other so well. And yeah, I think we can all see it starting to really gel together now, and that's nicely, hopefully.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with what you're saying there, because it is important to remember that this team as well is just so young and they're going to make mistakes like the Fulham game, and it's going to happen along the way. But you're totally right that it just seems like everything is starting to kick into gear now. I'm just going to bring it on to man of the match, because for me, I still haven't decided because there's so many good performances, Alex. So for me, I've got Tielemans, Ndidi, Albrighton, Justin, and Barnes, and then there's kind of a Vardy in there as well. So for me there was so many brilliant performances, and it was so hard to choose. And I'm going to kind of throw you in at the deep end and just who would you like to, not your man of the match, but who would you like to mention as well?
Well, you said the two people that I was thinking of was James Justin and Didi. You know, those were my two that really caught my eye. You know, and I've been praising JJ for like weeks now. You know, I think he's just playing spectacular. You know, and today was just another match where he just completely just outplayed and outclassed anything and anyone that he faced off against. And then Didi, he's been incredible since his return, and I think a lot of people forget that, he came out of the lineup because of a pretty severe injury, and he's jumped back in, and it's like he's missed no time at all, and that's just incredible in itself. So those are my two. Just both of them have been playing exceptional, and this game was, I think, for both of them was really well done, and they played well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still struggling. Dan, who do you think would be your nominations for man of the match?
Of all of them, I think I'd have to pick probably Maddison and Barnes. I'd like to throw them in there. Probably Barnes gets it for me. And just the way, and I'd throw Tielemans in this too, the way the two, Maddison and Tielemans, were able to adjust their bodies in the midfield and maintain possession and draw fouls to kind of take the pressure off at times. I think that was crucial, but Barnes gets it for me just because of the forward running power, and the fantastic goal. I mean, what a hit, and I think that lifted our performance because we were maybe a little bit on our heels at the time when Barnes got that.
Yeah, we were still pressing on the front, but I totally agree. It's just that goal at times, just after the second goal went in, we looked, there was a chance that we could have gone to win a game from going back down from 2-1, as you were saying, Alex. Like, this wouldn't have happened last season, especially from January onwards. But yeah, just same question to you, Glenn, because I think we'll have to do this democratically because there's just so many to choose from today, isn't there?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I think I'd probably split it down into the two halves. I think the first half, for me, Tielemans stood out with wanting that ball, taking that ball, managing those through the line passes very well, and he was key. And I know before the game, I was discussing with some people about the fact of how bossing the midfield was going to be a big thing for today's game. And he did take it by the scruff of the neck, certainly in the first quarter of the first half. I sort of continued that through. In the second half, I would have given it to Barnes. I think where he was taking the ball quite early, running at them at pace, and you could see that the Man United defence isn't the greatest, and you could see that they were a bit shaky when they were running at him with that pace. You try and look at the feet or look at the ball, and quite easily put them right on the backsides. And of course, like Dan said as well, the goal, was just phenomenal. So yeah, I think just edging it by the fact of the goal as well. I'd give it to probably Barnes overall.
Yeah, there's a lot to choose from. Even Vardy, for example, for the fact that he gets maybe a handful of touches in the game and still managed to score and still managed to do so much good running off the ball is amazing. I think Evans, again, he didn't do anything particularly well, but his presence in the team, and if you take him out of the team today, you look like you potentially would have lost that game. And there's little things like that aren't as obvious as if you're watching the highlight reel, and even for Fana, we could say so. For me, it's kind of, you have to give it to the entire team because the way that they did and the way that Brendan Rodgers set them up, for me, was just outstanding. And again, I think we're all in agreement that even for a neutral watching that was a great game of football, Alex.
Yeah, no. I think what you said was perfect. It was a team effort. Everyone played their role like to the T, and they were able to, not come back once, but come back twice. And, it was a great game. Getting up early and, getting a cup of coffee and, it was great. I was quite happy considering how tired I was. I'm pretty happy with the end result. I'll take a point in that game. And we stay ahead of Man United, so it's a Christmas present when you really look at it.
It really is. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching. Thank you so much. Dan, just a quick one on you before we finish. Where can the people find you on Twitter?
At MattCage64 on Twitter. Come and look if you want. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. And thanks for coming on once again. Glenn, where can the people find you as well?
On Twitter at Glenn the Foxile, and yeah, I only tweet about football stuff. So yeah, come and have a look.
Brilliant. And just obviously you're part of the team, but Alex, same to you as well.
You can find me on Twitter at LCFC_Canada. Usually they're just tweeting nonsense about, Leicester and in my Canadian views. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah, really appreciate getting on. You guys coming on as well. It was a 12:30 kickoff here in the UK, but you guys were starting to get up early morning just to watch that. So that's more dedication than we've got, especially on Boxing Day as well. So I'd like to thank you all for coming on. Thank you everybody for watching and subscribing. We have got a video with Ali the Eagle from the Crystal Palace game, because these games are coming around in 2 days' time. So that'll be released tonight as well. So make sure you check out that match, and we'll see everybody in the next video. So thank you so much from all of us, and goodbye.